Hi, I am Laduma Ngxokolo, a Nigerian lawyer, entrepreneur, and social activist, founder of Chocolate City Group. Chocolate City is one of the biggest record labels in Africa, helping to guide and manage the careers of dozens of artists. But all this wasn't enough to feed my spirit. I am now traveling the African continent, finding like-minded individuals who are not only successful in their own right, but are also making an impact in their own communities. This is Profit with Purpose. This is Chivas. Win the Right Way. Tonight on Chivas Win the Right Way, we're in Johannesburg, South Africa to chat with young designer extraordinaire Laduma Ngxokolo about his story, his fashion, and how he contributes to the local economy. He was at the center of a media frenzy after Beyonce shared a few pictures of some of his creations from his brand Makosa. He has remained grounded, focused, and his business is gaining momentum. We sat down for a glass of Chivas and a chat.
I started my brand Makosa by Laduma in 2011. Prior to that, it was a university project that I did at the Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University. Basically, the concept behind the design, the brand, was coming up with clothes, specifically knitwear, that is inspired by traditional Xhosa beadwork for Xhosa initiates. In the Eastern Cape, when we aged 18 to 25, we have to go through menhook circumcision and give away all our old clothes and buy a whole new wardrobe. And part of that wardrobe includes high quality men's knitwear. I took part in an international design competition, which I first did the national leg. So I won the South African leg amongst 4 universities. I went to London and I had to challenge about 7 participants. I took the #1 spot for that and won an award of about £1,000 and a trophy. That recognition gave me a good platform to be invited to conferences like Design Indaba, which is an internationally credible platform that gave me a further step. I was born and raised in Port Elizabeth by a single parent. I'm the second born of 4 siblings. I grew up in a family that practices a lot of craft. My late mother was a knitwear designer back in the 80s. Unfortunately, because of the political infrastructure at that time, she couldn't grow further. And she taught me how to machine knit when I was in grade 8. And so I became more enthusiastic and decided to do textile design in high school. The relationship that I had with my late mother played a big role actually in my career today. She was a great patron of Xhosa, anything that has to do with Xhosa. She collected a few anthropology books that we read, that she read to us as bedtime stories. So cultural pride was always something that was there. She was an entrepreneur herself, so she had that entrepreneurial spirit. She was a risk taker, so I learned some of those influences from her. Doing something different had a good impact on me. I looked at it in a positive way, although some people were quite unsure about it because it wasn't something that they often see every day. I come from a typical Xhosa community where our parents want us to be doctors, lawyers, or accountants. I didn't fall for any of that. I followed my own direction and chose to go the road less traveled. I ultimately vision my brand sitting amongst best world's premium brands like the Armanis, Versace's, Gucci's. I was chosen amongst 2 designers that were selected in Africa to exhibit my work at the Smithsonian Art Museum in New York. They bought 2 of my looks and exhibited them amongst 250 pieces that they collected from around the world. And Beyonce and Jay-Z came over to see the private at the private opening of the exhibition, and they took pictures of about 8 pieces that they liked and posted next morning about 5 pieces that she personally liked at the exhibition, and my pieces were amongst that list as well. So I saw a tweet online and I actually did a follow-up, and media went quite crazy about it locally. America in general started purchasing my projects online. That gave me a good window for me to be seen and be known amongst that market. I see my brand becoming a lifestyle brand that can be interpreted into tables, chairs, homeware like crockery, and even a hotel for that matter. The Chivas relationship came about from the design indaba relationship that I had with our founder and ambassador of Chivas, Ravi Naidu. Ravi Naidu was chosen to be part of a global campaign which was centered around the Winning the Right Way campaign that they had. So Ravi chose me as one of the people that he thought would interpret the packaging the best because of the deep-rooted culture and the brand alignment of respecting premium quality. So Chivas 18-year-old was the perfect product that they thought that I could work on. Quality is more important than quantity. A lot of people chase quantity so that they can have different styles to wear each and every weekend and then dispose some of those clothes. I've been living in London for 2 years and I've seen some of the worst scenarios where people buy a dress for £20 and then throw it away in 2 weeks or 3 weeks time. So I believe that that is obviously messing up our environment. Like in places like Bangladesh, people work for nothing there just to make a £5 garment. Obviously people buy fast fashion because it sort of gives them it benefits that slow fashion doesn't. Some of the things that I do with my garments, I make them versatile and easy to interchange around so that people don't look the same when they wear them. Of course, some people can't afford to pay premium prices, but they are willing to save and buy something that is worth it. Knitwear is an international sort of garment that can be worn by various markets, but the design focus that we look at is local from the Eastern Cape. I went that direction because I felt that it's very important to celebrate the things that come from my own, and also sourcing locally from the Eastern Cape does not only support the spinning and processing supply chain, it also helps farms as well that grow sheep and goats as well. Unfortunately, 70% of that raw material is exported overseas to Czech Republic and Japan. I felt that as a young designer, I should focus on that direction and marginalize that resource that we have, but use local resources that are here in South Africa, because one of the problems that we faced in South Africa in the past 20 years is losing a lot of jobs in the textile and fashion industry. And so I use my own will and power to actually help that industry. When I consider selection of fibers that I use for my knitwear, I have options, cheap options of using acrylic, for instance, and obviously don't go that direction because as a conscious designer, I know that it has bad implications for the environment. For instance, when those synthetic fibers are dyed, the water that gets disposed from that, the type of dyes that dye houses use, and the way that the plastic that the fiber is created from has bad implications for the environment. And of course, one cannot keep an acrylic jersey for more than 10 years, whereas you can keep a wool jersey. I've seen that from my grandparents. They still have them today. In a design business in general, being unique and distinctive is very crucial, because buyers, when they go out there to buy collections, they always look for something that is original, unique, and easy to sell, because that's what it's about at the end of the day. Yes, people take ideas and put them together and hope that they would come out with something that would be hot that season, but that doesn't often work. I think that form of guarantee is to make sure that you actually create your own signature, your own voice, and secure something that you'll be able to patent or register with an IP lawyer and run with it.
Until recently, Laduma was based in London, but now he has relocated himself and his business to Johannesburg. We asked him what promoted his move back to the City of Gold.
I think the congestion in Johannesburg, means that there's presence and power that's out here and shouldn't be underutilized. I'm here to utilize those opportunities to make sure that I grow my business, my brand, and get it to where it's supposed to be with the people that are here. And the opportunities as well are some of the best one can get in Africa. And also just the people are very into fashion. Unlike my home city in Port Elizabeth, people are not as conscious as about fashion design as people out here in Joburg. And also the lifestyle as well has a lot to offer. There is some form of guarantee that one wouldn't do the same thing every weekend. I don't like conservative things, you know, so I try to explore different things during the weekends so that I don't get bored over 2 years or a year living here. I think the edge to the city is that there's often things that happen that you didn't expect.
And clearly it's the edginess of the city that he loves, since his apartment is in the heart of the thriving melting pot that is called Johannesburg. We popped into his home to get inside the designer's headspace and investigate the kind of personal space that's a breeding ground for creativity.
One of the current influences that I look into as a person that appreciates art, I've personally been a great fan of Salvador Dali's work. I'd consider myself as a fashionista since high school, as far as I can remember. I dressed up very unique and odd compared to the other kids. My sister was very strong in terms of design and making at that time. So I often asked her to make a shirt for me and paint it and hand paint it. So she did stuff that had like bold colors, and then I would make a matching cardigan to go with that is like colorful, like the knitwear that I make today, but very simple because I didn't do patterns at the time. I wanted something which was special. Hard work is above everything. Never depend on talent, because talent often gets lazy, but hard work doesn't. You have to understand everything around what's centered around what you're doing. Finance, how to market it, how to make it, literally make it, and how to make it add value to your surroundings. I shot a fashion film with a group called the VC group from Cape Town, Batandwa, Alpha Stein, and Zunaid. Shot that in 2013. The name of the film was called My Heritage, My Inheritance. The whole idea behind that film was celebrating the commodity, which is the skill that I have, my gift from my mother, and confirming that it is one of the most valuable commodities that I inherited from her. But not material things like houses and cars and all those things. I consider them as less value compared to the culture. It put into context what my brand ideology. It put it well into context, and so people like got an idea immediately what I believe and aim to achieve. Someone once said that it's very important to pay your bills. Pay your bills. I think when you pay your bills, you put yourself in a good mind state. You know, when you're free of debt, you feel free.
Every designer needs a store where they can showcase their work, and Laduma has opened his own branded store in Newtown Junction in the heart of the Johannesburg urban development.
Business is going very well. We have customers that are actually willing to travel all the way up north of Joburg and come down to our store south, and we conveniently able to supply online as well. I'd say I'm successful because I'm doing what I aspire to do while growing up, and I've created a system that is recyclable, like that can be refreshed every season and has a steady growth
When he started the brand, I was still at university at that time. I finished my degree in public relations and then I started work and gained some experience, but I thought I'm doing so much for him and not in his payroll. So I thought, why not just come and do it on a full-time basis? One of our biggest clients could be Ricky Rick, the hip-hop artist, is a regular in here. We've had Glenn Lewis, we have Maps Maponyala, we've had Azania, which have great influence, and those are the people myself and Laduma have looked up to, and they usually come and shop at our store. In our summer range, we've introduced crop tops. I find 16-year-olds who can't afford it that come flocking into the shop. We've had 70-year-olds that have bought gifts for their kids and for themselves. So it's a wide range of, there's no specific target audience, because we've seen this wide range of people, different cultures, different racial groups coming to the store and being interested about the brand because of its history and because it is beautiful and unique. Whenever we go home, when he goes home, firstly he gets stopped by young men. Let's say my nephew who's 9 years old, and his friends know who Laduma is. They are quite confident that one day they will be like him, not necessarily be famous, but to do something incredible. Young people, old people in our community always stop him to tell him how they are inspired by his work. And also in Port Elizabeth, where we're from, the raw material we use for our product is sourced in Port Elizabeth. So this might not be a direct impact, but those people who work at those factories that he sources the yarn from are impacted by his order, because we order quite big units from them, and it's quite, I can say in my part, it's job creation and keeping the economy of Port Elizabeth alive.
It's often difficult for me to choose a favorite piece because I design every piece with an intention to become a favorite piece. So my favorite pieces often changes from favorite to another each and every day. I've recently won the most stylish designer in South Africa at the Style Awards, and yeah, that's the most recent that I've gotten. I got nominated for 3 other awards from Uganda and Kenya and Eastern Cape as well. My fashion stands out because it has a heritage.
All these creations have a germination stage and need to be manufactured. So Laduma took us to the factory where his designs are intricately assembled by a team of local seamstresses. And this helps to keep the local textile industry alive.
I outsource production from this company with very skilled artisans that some of them have been working here for about 15 years. This is the only place that I have confidence where my products will be produced at premium quality and finishing, and I don't have to be here and actually guide the process. I can easily trust my manufacturer to do all the specifications for me. The name of the company is called Annabelle Tricots. I found them on a garment that I bought from one of the chain stores locally. I looked at the details, and then they were on my radar for about 2 months, and then I finally found them.
We manufacture knitwear. We knit the product and put the garments together. We've been doing this for a long time, and it was early last year that we came into contact with Laduma, and we manufactured his ranges for Florence for his menswear and Milan for his ladieswear ranges. We order the yarn according to the style and the weight of the garment and whatever the order is. The yarn arrives, and then the style is programmed onto the knitting machine. The yarn is then placed on the machine, and the panels are knitted. From there it goes to pressing, cutting and makeup. With the very, very cheap merchandise we can't compete. We can't, because it's just impossible for us to do so. And these sort of things have, over the years, resulted in the industry shrinking to a point where there are just a few knitters left in the country, few fashion knitters, that is. And what we try and do is we try and find our niche market where we can survive, put it that way, and where we can make a little bit of a profit. Because if we try to compete too much with what's coming in, it isn't successful. It's not successful for us.
I feel that it's very important to produce locally because people can get jobs. As you can see in the background, if we produce locally, then it puts us under pressure to source raw material locally as well. And South Africa has the biggest mohair industry in the world and the biggest wool industry in Africa. If we export those commodities, then that means that we are not doing enough to actually translate that raw material into valuable products that we can sell for 50 times more the price that we buy the raw material for. Mohair is in the category of luxury fibers. Mohair comes from goats. South Africa has about 8 million goats. Lesotho as well has a couple that are all processed mainly in Port Elizabeth. Mohair has good properties like durability and warm fiber, very lightweight, and it's color fast as well. It doesn't lose color like any other fibers do, and it captures color very well. Hence, someone might need to look so colorful. Wool, on the other hand, shares the same properties as mohair, but a bit different from mohair. The appearance of wool is a bit dull, and but it has its own unique properties which are special as well. One of the steps that gets cut out in fast fashion is design. So basically, with a lot of fashion houses or fashion groups that create fast fashion, they look at designs on the catwalk, buy samples or take pictures of them, and produce samples the next day, and then throw them into production immediately. And they obviously go for cheap fabric, which is the easiest access to find.
I feel that the chain stores could be very instrumental in that, in the assistance of that. They benchmark the price of the garment as to what they can get overseas. Now, with the rand-dollar exchange rate being more in our favor, they can give the local supplier a little bit more for their garments. And in that, the local supplier can then start to improve their plants and become technically more competitive. And I think it may take a season or two, but I don't think it'd be too long, and we would be able to be, well, we certainly hope to do it very quickly. Garments that are equal to the best that can come out of China, the better end.
I always feel proud when I walk into a factory locally that is producing my knitwear. When I graduated as a student in 2010, I had a vision that my pieces will do a small percentage of contribution of job creation. To see that coming to life for me is an epic feeling, because that it means that if one pushes and makes sure that their agenda to create positive change in society gets translated into action, it is possible. There's tremendous hope for the South African fashion industry. What the government should do to actually improve the industry is to support young designers with infrastructure. To me personally, to live as a modern gentleman is to actually acknowledge your past, of course, and then try to work it around your lifestyle. I'm a modern gentleman that believes in culture and ancestors, but the things that I do today are different to what my father used to do back then. I think that modern fashion is becoming more diverse, and people will have extreme amount of choices to choose from. It will even be worse in the future. People can go for high-tech clothes that actually have more function than just covering your body. There are developments like nanotextiles now, which have characteristics of maybe controlling temperature of your body or absorption of your sweat. Fashion is being integrated with technology as well, where people can charge phones with the static that is created by clothes. Designers have to adapt to what the market actually needs. And the day we serve people's needs, but we have a responsibility to give them beyond expectations. So far, it's the niche market that actually knows about what I do. I haven't gone mass yet, even locally here in South Africa. Masses don't know what I do yet, which I am extremely happy with. I think some things are meant to grow organically, and it takes time to grow a fashion brand. Some of the stores that people can buy my brand from in Johannesburg is at Luminance in Hyde Park and the Luminance in Sandton. At the airport, at the duty-free department. They can buy it in Cape Town as well, at Merchants on Long, number 34 Long Street, and online as well, maxxosa.co.za. The legacy that I'd like to leave behind is being part of icons that actually translated traditional culture to the future. That's simply generally what I want to contribute to my community, to South Africa and to the rest of the world, and make sure that culture doesn't get left behind and we take it with us, because once things actually change in the future, people actually often miss how things were done back in the past, but people can still celebrate that today and have a sense of belonging.